Lichtenberg. Welcome to What's Up Wednesday and Ask Dr. Jen. Today I'm going to be discussing safe sleep for a baby. And I know it's so important, right? Your baby, particularly your newborn, is your prized possession, wanting to bond, care for them. I know it can get overwhelming sometimes. You're sleep deprived, the baby is crying a lot, but you always have to make sure that safety is of utmost importance, particularly that first year of life. In fact, a report came out from New York State this week about unsafe sleep environments for babies and increased risk of suffocation and strangulation. I know it's not an easy thing to hear, but we want to keep those babies as safe as possible. And what it showed that a major cause of death in children under the age of 1 is due to unsafe bed sharing practices, whether it be sharing a bed with your baby on a rocking chair or a sofa or a couch, or unsafe crib practices as well. So I want to particularly discuss all of those and what you can do to keep your baby safer through the night and when they're sleeping, because if your baby is safe and healthy and happy, you're going to have less anxiety and stress too as a new mom, right? So I am also want to talk a little bit. I asked you guys on Instagram your thoughts on those wearable baby monitors for decreasing SIDS. If you use them, I know they're super expensive, and I want to give you my thoughts as a pediatrician if they're necessary or not, and if I recommend them. So keep on listening and watching, and we will get to that as well too. But a lot of this, about safety for babies and infants can be a bit overwhelming and sort of hard to tease out what's safe and what's not, particularly on social media, right? There's a lot of pressure. I was looking through on social media before doing this live video that there's lots of pictures of babies looking really cute, but laying on their bellies, which isn't safe. We know that right back to sleep is so important to decrease SIDS in babies, but there's all these of laying on their bellies, and there's lots of blankets. There's also from advertisers and marketing for bedding and cribs, and they try to make them all with lots of pillows and just all unsafe bedding that we're going to talk about, which we see, and also with celebrities too, right? Oftentimes people see these celebrities and want to try to emulate their baby nurseries as well too, but they may be in these pictures really not safe. So I'm going to give you the lowdown today on how to make safe for your baby to sleep, to decrease SIDS, as well as other risks of accidental injuries and harm such as suffocation as well too. So let's get right into it. So first of all, talking about the crib. So crib safety is really important. You want a bare crib. And I know that's not sexy, and I know that it's not exciting for the baby, right? It used to be that they're made comforters that match the bedding as well too, and lots of pillows, but we don't want that. So we want a bare crib. You want to start with a very firm mattress for baby, for them to sleep on, and then the mattress should only be no more than 2 inches wide between the mattress and where the perimeter of the crib. So again, nothing can slip down. You want to make sure also that the crib mattress that you're using a fitted sheet. So this will also keep, again, the mattress in place, and that the sheet won't ride up or move around at all too. So using a fitted sheet instead of a flat sheet tucked in is much better to do as well too. Also, you again want to make sure that you use a safety approved crib or bassinet. Look for that writing on it when you do purchase it. So there's lots of play yards and playpens that aren't really made, they're made for playing, but they're really not made for sleeping. Same thing with car seats. Many people don't know that, but car seats are really not intended to be sleeping all night long with the baby sort of squunched over in it. So you want to make sure to have your baby on a flat surface, and either it being a crib or a bassinet for them to sleep. It could be right next to you, and that's another important piece of information for you, is that to keep your baby close to you at night. So again, the recommendations are not to be sleeping with the baby, but have the baby in the same room, room sharing, not bed sharing, and keeping the baby right next to you, either in a bassinet or a crib close by, so it's easy to feed, but put the baby down in a safe place to sleep for the rest of the evening until they wake up again for their next feeding. While we're talking about in the cribs, as I said, we want it to be bare. So right, we don't want bumpers. So I get the question, well, they're not fat bumpers, they're just really thin bumpers, and they're breathable bumpers. But bumpers are not necessary at all, right? We used to have them so then their legs or arms don't go through and get stuck in the slats, but the slats should not be that far apart. If you have a soda can, it should not be any wider, the slats between the spaces between them, any wider than a soda can. And this will ensure that your baby will be safe while they're in the crib. So you don't need bumpers. You also, again, don't need pillows. I've seen also very thick comforters and blankets. You don't need those either for the baby to sleep. So what do you use for the baby to get them to sleep comfortably? So when we're talking a newborn, swaddling is a really important thing to do. Swaddling is great. Swaddling a baby with their arms down and swaddled in almost like a burrito, and it keeps them cozy and snug, and then you can put them on their back to sleep. You want to do swaddling, again, only the first few months. After that, you can use a sleep sack for a baby. So again, that keeps them warm, but it won't be flopping around, and the blanket can't cover their face or their nose or their mouth. So it makes it okay and easy for them to breathe, particularly when they're lying on their back. So a sleep sack is a great thing to start from the beginning, because they will get used to using that instead of all the covers and blankets that can, again, cover their face and make it difficult to breathe or anything like that. So you also want to, as I said, always place the baby on their back to sleep. So babies will roll over, but you want to start them on their back. That is key of importance. If you start them on their back, they will also get much more used to sleeping on their back, and that's extremely protective. We know that since we started the Back to Sleep campaign for SIDS, decreasing sudden infant death syndrome, it has dramatically made a huge difference in babies. So you want to make sure that you put them on their back. Sometimes you turn their head to the right, sometimes you turn their head to the left, so they don't get a flattened spot, which we've talked about before, on their back of their head from just being in one position. Other things that are protective too is tummy time. So tummy time is playtime during the day, and you want to keep them upright as much as possible, so you can hold them, you can put them on your chest and they can lift their head up. That's a great upper body as well, tummy time. So it's, when people say how long, well, as long as the baby will tolerate it. So try it a few times a day and just keep increasing as the baby starts to tolerate it. Also, you want to avoid overheating. So everyone always thinks of little babies that they're cold all the time. Yes, you want to keep them comfortable. Usually just one extra layer than that we have is comfortable for a baby, but we don't want to overheat them. So overheating them makes them hot. It can make them irritable. It can make them sweaty. It also increases the risks of SIDS as well too. So you want to keep the temperature in the nursery somewhere between 68 to 72 degrees, and you don't want to make it super hot in there so they're sweaty or they're uncomfortable either. What else can be helpful? So pacifiers, right? I talked about that in a previous segment, but pacifiers have been shown to be protective as well too for decreasing SIDS. So babies also have a normal reflex just to suck. At the beginning, for the first couple of months of life, they just want to suck. It's a non-nutritive, so they don't really need, in between feeds, they still want to suck, and a pacifier can really help with that. And also, as I said, there has been some data showing that it helps to decrease the risk of SIDS as well too. We also know that breastfeeding is also helps to decrease the risk of SIDS. So breastfeeding your baby at night and during the day obviously or giving breast milk, either expressed or feeding the baby directly, can help to decrease SIDS as well too. Smoke-free zone is really important too. So right, you don't really want to smoke around the baby. Obviously, no one should be smoking in the room. If you are a smoker, to try to change your clothes, wash your hands before touching and holding the baby as well too. And as I said, we talked about tummy time and rooming in. So the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends rooming in with the baby for the first 6 months and even longer if possible, up to the first year. Again, if you want to have that full benefit of helping to reduce the risk of SIDS. But in general, SIDS, or sudden infant death syndrome, occurs within the first year of life, but the first 6 months has a higher risk than the second 6 months of life. But again, today, as I said, we're talking a little bit more about accidental deaths due to suffocation. And so it's important to know, I'm going to talk a bit about bed sharing too, because co-sleeping is an increased risk factor for suffocation and SIDS for babies as well too. And so the reason, if you think about it, is that the beds that we have now, right? each year they get thicker and thicker and puffier, right? And there's more foam in the mattress, and there's contour to your body, and you also have all these different, pillows, big pillows, decorative pillows. You have sheets and blankets and comforters, and there's just so much going on the bed, right? And so if you bring the baby into the bed as well too, the surface, again, the surface is not as firm, and so that can be a danger. Also, the blankets and other pillows can get in the way. Even if people say, well, I put it around the baby. Babies move, and sometimes you just don't know when they're going to move. Even at a young age, they may just move, and the bed may not be that even, and so they can topple over. So it's really important to, if you are feeding your baby in bed, to then put them back, as I said, next to you in the crib, or a bassinet or something that's right next to the bed. You also want to make sure that your partner in the bed knows that the baby is there with you too. Oftentimes these accidental injuries and suffocations due because of someone has rolled over onto the baby. They may be a heavy sleeper, but they may not even know that the baby was there and put their arm across. So it's really important that if you do have the baby and you're feeding the baby, or you're awake with the baby, that your partner knows that the baby is in bed with you. You want to make sure that you never bring a baby into bed if anyone has had any kind of drugs or sleeping pills that can either make them really tired, heavier sleeping, or can alter their ability to understand what's going on and be coherent. So you want to really be sure of that too before bringing the baby into bed with you, because of the increased risks there. And again, it's even more important that you know that if you had a preemie, that there increased risk of SIDS as well too, and for babies under 4 months of age. So if you are bringing your baby into bed to feed with you, just make sure that you understand the risks because of all the bedding as well that's there, and that the best thing to do then is to put your baby next to you in a bassinet or a crib that's right near you as well. So let's talk a little bit about baby monitors, actually wearable baby monitors. So, parents bring babies home from the hospital and they're always so nervous, and there's all these new gadgets now and electronics. Usually they cost a fortune, and they give you all this information, right? You get heart rate, blood pressure, you can get vitals. Oftentimes parents don't even know sort of what all the readings are in the meetings of them, and they get super overwhelmed. So there's like two sets of parents that I see. There's ones that they get all this information and they get obsessed with all the information, right? What do I do with all this information? And how come their heart rate is up and then it's down by 2 and it's up by 2? And they're, instead of enjoying the baby, they're spending all this time worrying about the different numbers. Even if it's in the normal range, they want to know why it's changing. Another issue that happens with these monitors is that they often don't always work, or if the baby moves, they may get a false reading. And then that freaks out the parents as well too, because they don't really understand or know what it means, as you're not supposed to, because we're not usually monitoring healthy babies 24/7. So you're getting all this extraneous information. We know that not only does it cause parents to become anxious, it increases the time in emergency rooms and extra testing when not necessary. So it can bring a lot of stress and aggravation that's not needed. And then on the flip side is that you can have people that use these wearable monitors on their babies, and then they think, oh, well, because I have this monitor, it doesn't really matter. I can put their baby down on the tummy, or I could not worry about the blankets or anything, because they have a monitor and the monitor will really tell me what's going on. I don't have to worry at all. And so that's false too. So we don't want either of those to happen. And what I'm going to tell you as a pediatrician, that these monitors are not necessary, and in fact they've been shown to, actually there is no evidence to show that they reduce the risk of SIDS. So they're not necessary. I don't recommend you using them. Instead, I do recommend the tips that I've discussed today about bed sharing and about safety in the crib as well too, making it as bare bones as possible to help decrease SIDS and suffocation in your baby. This way your baby will sleep and be happier, and you'll be happier too, knowing that you don't have to be nervous worrying about your baby at night. So I hope these safety tips help. Please leave me any questions you have below, and we can discuss it more, and love to hear from you. This is Ask Dr. Jen, and speak to you next week. Have a great day.